Is anybody out there? Got it? I can't see nobody. It's not that. It's not locked.
Yeah, you love. Yeah, you love it. Yeah.
What's good out there? Anybody out there? Anybody? Is anybody there?
Just me at the moment. I think you need to post.
Nah. Okay, what's good? Divine Black, what's good? So we going live today. I ain't got the camera shit ready because I gotta fucking charge this shit. You know, we got technical difficulties. This the first day around. Alright. What's good, April? Shout out to all 6 people that came in the room.
Share it.
You know what I mean? We're about to do the Bochinche, Ocha Bochinche, the news. You know what I mean? This shit gonna be critical. They're not gonna like me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna be talking about shit that don't nobody wanna talk about. And yeah, we're gonna get to it. I know you can't see me, but you don't need to see me. All you need to do is hear me, right? Can y'all hear me? Holler if you can hear me. So my sound is good?
Yeah.
All right then.
You see your forehead.
Yeah. That's where the thoughts, that's where all the stuff come from. Comes from right here in the attic.
Hold up. Where the phone stand at?
No, it's not that. It's that I gotta charge it.
I know, but the phone stand got the shit at the bottom. To where you standing up and you charge your hand out the bottom.
Oh, all right. Oh, I'm gonna go get the thing. I'm gonna go get the thing, y'all. It's not out there.
No. You know what I mean?
Ah. No, no, no. I'm gonna take this up. There we go. There you go. Ow. Here we have little technical difficulties. So, this is where the place that y'all can ask the questions that I will answer, right? Because everybody doing a whole lot on the internet in terms when it comes to Orishas and all that kind of shit and spiritualism, right? So, yeah, if y'all have y'all questions, this is the time to get them off, right? Because this is where I'm gonna be. I'm gonna get a little bit more. What do you call it? Candid. You feel me? I'm gonna be a little bit more open to talk in this one. So you gotta come with your questions. If you don't got no questions, I'm just gonna be sitting there looking at me, looking crazy, right? So this is where you get to ask your questions, cause you know on the Patreon, not too many people be, those people that do rock out. Y'all know who y'all are. Y'all are my consistent people. You know what I'm saying? And don't worry, y'all gonna what y'all pay for, y'all gonna get something. Y'all get something extra. But this is the interaction, where you can, I'm saying, ask your questions and all that kind of stuff. Why doesn't Rich invite me to Black Magic Show? Well, because I don't fit the program of debates and all that other stuff. So I want y'all to understand that the conversation that everybody has now, right? No, there's no specific topic. This is for you to ask questions. So you could ask questions here. But I'm answering a question regarding why I'm not on Black Magic 363. And the reason for that is because of the politics of the quote unquote conscious community, right? On the recent trend of spiritual traditions amongst the new dark influence rappers, like Ola Runt, Skrilla out of PA. It's novelty. You know what I'm saying? It's novelty. It's it is young people trying to be in the head of things. They're trying to get ahead of all of the stuff to be the one to be like, yeah, I've been doing that, right? What's his name? Skrilla? What's the young one from? What's his name, young?
Skrilla?
Yeah. I like his energy. Now, when it comes to Philadelphia, PA, there's some real Santeros out there, but a lot of the shit out there is bullshit. And I say this from the conversation that I got from one of my elders, who was the premier Oriente out there. He didn't like the way the Ocha was being procured in Philadelphia, right? There's a lot of a lot of hucksters out there. Okay? Can I talk about Osun Apara? No, you mean Aquaro? Aparo? Is that what you asked me? So, and it's not Osun with an X. That's how the Brazilians spell Osun. We pronounce Ochun. The CH in Cuba is makes the sh sound. Ochun. Oshun. Oshun Aparo, and it's not, her name is Aquaro in LUCUMI. Aparo is the Yoruba word for quail. And the reason why there is a difference in the pronunciation of things is the efficacy of the words, because the old Cubans believed that saying certain things would cause calamity, right? That you would call certain spirits or certain energies that may be untamable. So this is why in Cuba they do not refer to him as Elegba, because the Ba has a connotation of a certain amount of energy and force that comes with it. Let me get the lighter. So they change words when they can. Can you speak to this new generation of street gang culture as it pertains to the Bovida and uplifting these spirits through the Bovida with their references of today? Well, the the street spirits require us to uplift them. They become a commission because they are relative to this time and this space and these circumstances. So you find that those who have been in the street that have friends who died um, precariously, right? We pray for those spirits and we uplift them. Now, if someone was to become uh, possessed by one of them, we would have to first cultivate those spirits. We have to explain to them that the rules here have to be followed. So you can't get possessed and be slapping people and kicking them and punching them out because you're leaving your horse with the consequences. So all of these spirits have to have, as they come through, they have to be cultivated. They have to be brought to the light, to the table, so that they swear upon the table to come only with beneficent energy and not maleficent energy. Okay? And so, what you're trying to attempt to do is something that will require time. So you can't just go, "Oh, my godmother doesn't understand because I got these street Eguns," because this is not part of the construct. This is something new, right? So that it has to be incorporated into the construct, right? Um, why are people giving this gift? Um, to have to actually, well, requires the conversation of if you get these dreams and these dreams are prophetic, and see, I'm an asshole. I'm gonna tell you, I keep it straight up. Like a lot of that shit, I'll be like, yeah, whatever, get the fuck out of here with that shit, because it's a trial and everything. So you gotta tell me, you have to show me where you prophesized 9/11 before it happened. Right? So it has to be something. It has to be something in your diary that you wrote a year or at least 6 months before the actual occurrence happened, so that you have documentation to say, yeah, I had this dream on May such and such of 2001, and then September 11th happened. But in my dream, I saw this, and you described it. Because it's not enough for you to just be like, "Oh, I had that dream." Because a lot of people will say some shit like that, right? After the fact. You know what I'm saying? So they'd be like, "Yeah, I knew it was I told you it was going to be a black president." Okay, but when? And did you give any description of who he was going to be? Did you give a name? Any the first letter of the first name? What did you do that gives us the confirmation that your dreams are on point? Now, why would you ask? Why would somebody have that gift? You asking the wrong person. I'm not the why person. I don't know why God does anything. Right? It would be not in my best interest to try to even figure out um the whys. When you get to a place where you begin to stop with the whys and you begin to experience or observe the phenomena as it happens, you get less interested in the whys, right? And so it would be in your best interest to understand that if you have that gift, you have to figure out how you can make that gift work for you. So if the conversation is, oh, I saw 9/11 6 months before. If you didn't move and move to another place, then what you was talking about was null and void because you still had to experience the trauma. So you have to have a trial and error experience so that you can say, well, I had this dream, and then these were the descriptions that happened, and then 6 months later or 3 months or whatever elapsed amount of time, I have documentation to say that I prophesized this event before it happened, right? Because a lot of people will hit you with but they hit you with vague shit, and that shit is not enough, right? And if you just vague, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think that something's going to happen on this date, yeah, then we can go with your dreams and your prophecy or your intuition. But until then, because that's the same thing as with the people when they be like, oh, my spirit told me. And I'll be like, well, who's your spirit? What's his name? If you don't have his name, and if nobody else can see this spirit or interact with this spirit, then it's probably in your imagination. And it's a very hard pill to swallow, right? You have to be able to separate your imagination from your confirmation or your prophecy. So I implore you to stay on the first floor first. A lot of people get their glass of water and then all of a sudden they want to be a babalao or they the fucking santero mayor, and then the glasses go dirty and they get dry. And now it's all about the pots and pans. And how do you necessarily cultivate yourself from that point? Can you speak to the mixing of Isheshe and LUCUMI and how Isheshe doesn't address us here in the New World? Okay. So circumstances. God changes based on the circumstances. So when the people come from the diaspora, they come to the New World and they organize a system, right? And that system proliferates itself for a couple hundred years. And then they come up with a system. So let's be very clear that the Isheshe, and they can debate me like all they like. There's nothing to talk about. The books will tell you that there was never a word that they used called Isheshe prior to 2000. They never used that word before. It was used for them to compartmentalize all of the people who had traveled to Nigeria to make Orisha that went to different locales and did not have the same experience. And so now the mixing of Isheshe with LUCUMI is egregious because my ancestors didn't leave a briefcase with a letter saying go back to Nigeria. They didn't say that. And so it is egregious because the Nigerians themselves have not taken up their own tradition. It is not the tradition of the country, right? You said, I don't agree with Bobby and them, don't ask. Nah, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. The problem with your quote unquote conscious community is that you act like the women that you necessarily castigate. And when you talk about unaccountability, Bobby Hemmett got online and said that he had a threesome with several female Orishas. And then he felt himself invalid. But the conscious community will not, they will not attach that to that, right? And so the same thing with the Panic guy. The Panic guy, he has so much to say about my tradition. He used to date a girl whose father was a Babalawo and all of this crazy stuff. And then he died like a dog. You know what I mean? And Nobody addressed that. They just made up some shit that he went through another portal and so like that. Just, trying to justify the bullshit. So I don't speak on those two dudes because they fucked up. And a lot of people love them so much because Bobby was so smart. But Bobby is a fucking huckster. Like, he talk about shit that he don't know. And then makes bold statements about things that you have not even been in contact with. Bobby's never been to a fucking Orisha traditional LUCUMI or traditional fucking ceremony. Not ever in his life. So how do you talk about something that you never... That's like me just waking up one day and gonna tell you what happens in the Masonic Lodge, and I've never been. That shit, it sounds crazy. You feel me? Can I speak on Osun or Lolo D? Now, Millionaire Mallory, do you have Ocha made? I'm asking. Do you have Ocha made, Millionaire Mallory? Okay. Because I don't like to talk because I understand I don't like talking about certain things that are of no consequence to people that, you know what I mean? That don't, you know what I mean? That don't have Ocha. Ololo D. Ololo D is the Oshun that wears green and yellow. She is close to Orumila. Her name, Olo, meaning owner, Odi, meaning fence or door, or owner of limits, right? Ololo D is the only Oshun that takes two hands of Dilagoon. She is a fierce, middle-aged Oshun who at some point was said to have had her hands cut off because she was destroying the world. One of her sons was killed in battle, and Oshun, through sentiment and vindication, decided to tear the world apart. And so God got them to cut her hands off to stop her. And so later on in Ocha, one who has a Lolo D earns another hand of Dilagoon. It's not something that has to just be given to her. It's something that she has to earn. And so another hand of Dilagoon are given to her and fed, and they stay inside the sopera of Ololo D, right? Ololo D does not live in the Tinaha. She lives in the sopera. Certain Oshuns live in what they call Tinahas and vase, deep vase-looking terrains, and others are in soup terrains. Ololo D is one that doesn't go in a tinaha. She goes in a sopera, and she sits on the tablero of Orumila. She takes equele. Ololo D is the middle-aged Oshun. She is the divine Apetebi. She knows Ifa because she works Ifa with Orumila, but she has enough humility and respect to not practice that she is just the assistant to Orumila. Okay? Happy Ocha birthday coming up. Ryan, why you making it seem like I'm hating on them guys? I don't understand. You saying that like my contempt for them is somehow unwarranted. Divine, if you go to Omidina Productions, you'll find us on Patreon. Now, somebody asked the question about what are my thoughts on astral projection, and is it spoken of in Palo or Orisha practice? Again, I'm going to give the disclaimer. I'm an asshole. I want to tell everybody that is new to all of this stuff that a lot of you guys are very zealous, right? And you want to know things just to know. Everybody wants to know, but nobody wants to learn. Now, astral projection, again, you are incorporating things and concepts from other traditions and other philosophies, right? And there are perks and hazards to everything. So if you do something, there is a perk to it, absolutely, but there's also a hazard, right? And there's a side effect to it. So a lot of young people that come into these traditions, they want to necessarily now incorporate eating mushrooms and doing this and doing that, and the Ocha is not into that. If it was, it would have already been written into it. Now, the eating medicine has nothing to do with Ocha. It has everything to do with juju, right? With magic. And in that, you take, you put yourself in a precarious situation because of the hazards and the perks. So the hazard may be that you might not get back to your body. And you could get lost in what they call the anima sola, in the purgatory, right? And so it would not be in your best, interest to just be doing that. Now, in different cults of Ocha in Yoruba land, and understand that these things are only used because they have a purpose. So the hunters cult, the Ajogun, or the hunters guild that live in the Ileba, which is these little thatch shelters that they make in the forest as little procurement places. So after they kill an animal, they bring it back to the Ileba and they skin it and they take it apart and they may smoke it and they hang it, right? Now, in that cult, it is important for them to practice astral traveling because in order to find the herd before going out walking, they eat the medicine and they meditate and they astral travel, come out of their bodies, and they walk through the forest to find in which direction the herd is gone. That way that they don't waste their time. So when the body comes back, when the spirit comes back to the body, they have a direction in which way that they're going to go and chase the herd or the whatever the prey is. Okay? Now, today, in today's lifetime, I don't mean to be an asshole, but what the fuck are you gonna do with that? What you gonna do with that? You're gonna walk into somebody else's house, and if they a brujo, they fuck around and catch you in a bottle, and then you stuck there. And so all of this trying to have powers to do what? Because we have a bad habit of wanting to be like Superman and all that because we think that that's going to allow us to get us out of our circumstances. And our circumstances require us to be social with each other. And so the problem is that everybody wants to have powers and be Neo, and nobody wants to fucking help their brother. So everybody wants to be Neo and walk through and get the powers and kill all the crackers and kill the man, and then everything's gonna go back to everybody. Then the lions and the lambs is gonna be friends, and that's not what's gonna happen in the world, right? And so we have to accept the fact that we're in our circumstances, and there is some suffrage in that, and it requires. This is our destiny. This is what we are here to report back to God about. Being able to make the best out of the bullshit that they give us. So, astral traveling, what is the main goal of it? What would you do with that? Because you for all of the powers that one may necessarily think that they may get, and all of the vision and all of that kind of stuff, it's not going to stop you from, it's not going to allow you the power to stop your mother from dying. Right? Doesn't give you power over death. None of that. Right? So be very wary with what it is that you, and I don't mean to be an asshole, cuz I'm just saying, motherfuckers ask those type of questions. So, Orisha is very clear. You get a cheat code when you come and get a reading. You're going to see something that you can possibly prevent it or lessen the fall of. But you having the power to astral travel, I don't know what it would do for you. And I'm saying that because when I was young and I had these issues where I wasn't coming back to my body, and my uncle and them used to be very, very um, abrasive with me about that. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, you gonna fuck around and you can't unring a bell, as they say. You can't unring a bell. And a lot of people don't even like to fucking deal with their destiny that was given to them. So why would you necessarily be able to accept the fact that you're gonna have all of these powers, but you ain't gonna be able to affect the world? How about that? Right? Okay. So you're talking about the Iyami. And again, there are things that we as human beings should not indulge in. Because so I want to ask you guys something. If you went to another dimension, what are the side effects of that? What are the side effects? I want to hear what y'all got to say. What are the side effects? Because if you sit in the water too long, you're going to prune. It's going to have an effect on your body. And so so when you hear these people and they're like, I downloaded from the universe, what is the downside to that? What's the downside to that? Because dealing with spirits could put you, exactly, mental illness could be right there. You could be right there pushing the door for crazy. Right? And so if you go through certain different environments, you will have side effects. Right? So you go out there and if you go to Mexico or one of them places and you sit out there in that sun, you're going to get the peeling. That's the side effect of that. Right? If you go someplace cold, you're gonna get ashy. So now, what are the severe side effects of you traveling to another? So I can tell y'all a story. Right before I got scratched in Palo, I had a dream. And in the dream, everybody that was in the dream, they were all in my father's loft. And everybody that was in the dream was dead. Everybody that I could see and recognize was definitely dead. And I was in this scene, but I felt like they couldn't see me. It's like I was walking against the wall. And everybody was busy, like they was preparing for something. And I got to the back door. And when I got to the back door and I touched the door, everybody turned and looked at me. And the stare that they gave me, I could feel it in my flesh. Right? It felt like the closest thing that I can associate it to is hitting your funny bone, but having that feeling go through your entire body, right? And that I woke up out of that dream urinating on myself. That's how petrified I was. Because the stare that everybody that was in that dream gave me, and I knew each one of those people in that dream intimately. Like, these are people that I trust. But for some reason in the dream, I could feel an uneasiness about, like, be careful, don't bump into none of them, don't alert them. And then when they all turned and looked at me at the same time, I could feel their stares, like their eyeballs touching my skin. That I woke up in a panic, urinating on myself. Okay? So, what are the side effects of you just going to Nibiru? What's the side effects of that? Because even if your physical body takes a ticking, your astral body will as well. Because your astral body does not guarantee you not to die in that world. So I want you to understand that when you get into this stuff, you have to submit, you have to comply. You got to take everything that you think you fucking know and you got to get rid of it because you don't know shit. So I want everybody here, if you were not born in these traditions, I want you to understand that there was a time in your mind that you thought you knew everything there was to know. And then one day, I don't care if it was a DVD, a video on YouTube, you met somebody, they took you to get a reading, you bumped into somebody at a drug, something. You found out about this shit and realized that this shit was going on right around you and you didn't have not a fucking clue. Well, guess what? You still don't know shit. And you have to accept that. That is that's the fucking flag that you're carrying. I don't know shit. And I'm just here to observe and soak all of this shit up. When you know enough that you need to affect the other people, somebody will kick you out the nest. I promise you that. But if you think, exactly, I've had people come to me and they come and they get a reading and they're like, wow, this is different. And then they go home and they see somebody in the elevator in their building and they got green and yellow beads and they're like, wow, there's a lady that lived in my building for 30 years. I never knew she was in this. Exactly. Because it is literally like Harry Potter, like you said, on some, like, if you don't know that the mark is there, you don't see it. You don't see it. If you don't know that the market is there in the street, in between the two streets, you never go there because you don't know exists, right? And so the same thing with these traditions. It's just that somebody got fucking smart and peeled back the sheets and let everybody on the internet in on this, you know what I'm saying? This thing that was going on, right? So when it comes to astral traveling, microdosing mushrooms and shit like that, be careful. You said, what's the thoughts on spontaneously astral travel projections as a potential? Yeah, it is. In Ocha, we have something for that. Something that we receive that is in place as a mechanism to stop us from doing that. And that is Osun. Right? Because Osun kind of knows you don't really want to go through this door. You knocking, but I'm not going to let you in here because you ain't going to be the same if I let you in this door. So Osun becomes that guardian bouncer at the door of certain hazards to us that we think that we want to go in that dimension, and Osun be like, you don't want to do that. It's not going to be good. Feel me? And so when we receive Osun, it is there to make sure that we get back to our bodies, because there are things that are waiting for us to not get back. And it's almost like a grace period. Like, oh, he ain't get back yet. This shit is, we could squat in this motherfucker now. And then you don't get just one spirit. You get several spirits, because it's like an abandoned building. Don't one family just go and live in that motherfucker. Whole bunch of colorful niggas go looking for fucking shelter in there, right? So, be very careful of that type of shit. Feel me? Are the beads people receiving LUCUMI associated with places in nature, caves, ocean, forests? What parts of the initiation take place on the Orisha that they belong to? The beads are not really that fucking, ain't that deep. The Orishas represent these different places. The purpose of having the Orisha pantheon is the ability to have to affect the micro to affect the macro. You got that? Did you get what I just said? Receiving these things is allowing you to have control over the micro to affect the macro. So I essentially receive a LUCUMI so that I have a bit of the ocean in my home and I have access to it all the time. Right? Yeah, because when you put your so we understand that they say a picture's worth 1,000 words and a symbol's worth 1,000 pictures. So you put these symbols on your sheets and you're laying there trying to get some rest. You don't know what those symbols are doing, what kind of doors they're opening or what kind of things they're attracting or repelling. Because it could be you could have good things on you and then something bad is repelling the good things off of you. Right? So, when we engage, so the beads, back to the beads are there as a ritual contract. So, let's talk about the beads for a moment. In Ocha, on our effigies, we have these beaded necklaces that are thick. They're several strands thick. And they're called masos. And the maso was invented originally to chain a LUCUMI to the bottom of the ocean. They said that there was a time, right? And a LUCUMI became despondent the way that human beings treated the ocean. That she would rise up and create tidal waves, right? To destroy the earth. Because the people pissed and shit and bathed and took water from the ocean and nobody gave anything back. And so the ocean became despondent to the land and she began to try to destroy it. And in the wisdom of God, God told the Lumila the divine to find out what would be the remedy for this. And Oche Meiji came and Osun was contracted and petitioned to make this beautiful beaded apparatus. And in it, each number of beads was antiquated to create a spell that she created this maso with shells and cowries and beads and glass beads, and she gave it to Olumila, and Olumila presented it to Olokun as a peace offering. And when Olokun put it on, her vanity allowed her to be looking at all of the trinkets and the designs and the patterns that she began to sink to the bottom of the ocean. And this was done to keep her down there so that we could exist in life. Now, the eleke, the beads, are the miniature apparatuses to this giant apparatus known as the maso that is used to hold the deity or chain the deity inside the vessel so that the deity doesn't leave and go back to heaven. The eleke is when you come and you become a part of my ile, you are swearing to my guardian Orisha that my guardian Orisha is now responsible for you in the world. And the main Orishas, Legba, Obatala, Yemaya, Osun, Chango, will be given to you to protect you. Now, they are an early warning system. So you wear them on the inside, not the outside. They're not jewelry. They're made to be worn on the inside, close to your heart. And so you can't wear them on the inside, which makes it harder for them to pop. That when they do pop, you know that it's a serious situation, because when they pop, it is an indication that something has just missed you. Something bad was coming and it got tripped up and it went the other way. Right? And so now that bead that's popped is an indication that you need to go back to the place where you got them from, so that that person can see and investigate and see why calamity, sickness, death, all of the bad things might be looking for you. And so that if you can find out why they're looking for you, we can pay that tab and you ain't got to run into them and get pulled over. Am I making sense out there? Ain't nobody saying nothing? Ain't nobody fingers work? I don't know what's going on. That make me think I'm talking to myself. You know, I can talk to myself, but even when I talk to myself, to my answers.
I see what you say here.
So now, when it comes to the cross-pollination, there is no reason for cross-pollination. The LUCUMI system is perfect. It's perfect in the fact that it was made to sustain the African people in the diaspora. It was made for our schedule of life here. It was made for our quarters that we live in, so that you understand that Isheshe requires compound living. That you live in a compound, and in the center of the compound is the shrine. And everybody lives in orbit of the shrine. Right? But we don't live like that. So I'm not fitting to put my Ocha in the hallway and just let everybody just walk around it all day in the building. It's not going to happen. So the LUCUMI system was codified and calibrated for us in the New World to be able to follow and do what we do. So now, if, hypothetically, if every Santero that had Ocha went to their Ocha room and prayed to Agayu for a volcano to come and to knock the motherfucking planes out the sky, we would have that type of power. What is the association between Ajaguna and Chango? Ajaguna is the warrior of Batalan that is very close to Shango. So, hold on. Let me go one at a time. There is, you ever seen that picture of the ape? And the ape is walking, and another Neanderthal, and another one, until you see man and he's walking? Okay. The Orishas, the male Orishas and the female Orishas, follow an evolution of behavior and age and purpose, so that each male Orisha blends into the other. They are all connected. They are all an evolution of one another. So if you don't understand what I mean is that Orisha Oko is an elevation of Ogun. So you have the blacksmith, and then the blacksmith at some point becomes the agriculturalist, becomes the farmer. Um, and so Ajaguna and Chango meet at that place where Obatala and Chango are almost the same. Now, the conundrum is that Ajaguna as an Obatala is really the eldest. I say the bees are, yeah, they are there to tie us. So that you ever hear about the men in the Congo, they tie bells to their children so they can hear them. They don't get lost, right? So if something grabbed their son, they could hear it, the child being taken away as the bell is ringing. So this is what the Alekes do. So that the Alekes are essentially to hold you down as a new practitioner to make sure that you don't float off into heaven. Now, back to Ajaguna. I said that Ajaguna is really the eldest Obatala. What the fuck is he talking about? Because Obatala is as an avatar, as a archetype, is viewed as old and wise. Any version of him that is young had to have come first before he got to be old, right? You feel me? No. Don't get the thing because you put an Osun on or Yemon down that she's gonna love you more. That don't work like that. It doesn't bring you closer to the Orisha. The Orishas are around you, but with a precarious amount of space. Because you cannot digest the power of Orisha in its totality. It would be the equivalent of getting shot with 100,000 volts. You're not built, your body's not built for you to accept that energy raw. So you would need insulation to be able to manipulate and handle that energy. And so this is why the initiation is important, because the initiation is essentially the only way that you can get this spacesuit to go on this space voyage. I want you to understand that the Ocha, the Orisha, I don't want to call it philosophy because it's not philosophical. The Orisha truths why would you need a locum? You need a locum because a locum is the Orisha that allows us to have the abundance of the world. So let's go someplace real quick, y'all. Check this out. So I'm gonna say some things, and you're gonna timestamp these things because at some point you're gonna hear some of these bozos, and they're gonna try to remix the shit that I say. They do it all the time, right? But I've said this before. The Garden of Eden is in the ocean. I'm gonna give me a bubble talk. You gotta think about that. Very simply, the Garden of Eden is in the ocean. This is the most profound shit you're gonna hear in a long time. So, everything started in the ocean. In the ocean, nobody goes hungry. Hunger does not exist in the ocean. Nobody dies of hunger. In the ocean, no one dies of thirst. It is abundant and fruitful. Okay? So, they eat the apple. And the apple is really the oxygen that allowed them to come out of the water. But before they came out of the water, they realized that they were naked. And so they had to put on clothes. And this is when your crustacean came along. Your lobster, your crab, all of those crustaceans, because they wear their armor on the outside. And they're the first ones that could really walk up out of the ocean and come up onto land. And the reason we know this to be true is because every bacteria, every plant, every bird, every mammal searches for water on this planet. It is the place of comfort for all things. So, if Olokun is in charge of paradise, and we ate the apple, we ate the oxygen, and now we walk on the earth. When we eat food that comes out of the earth, we have to thank Olokun, because Olokun allowed land to exist here. This could all be underwater. There's no shortage of water here. So, understand that. The Garden of Eden is in the ocean. It's in the ocean. And when the crab put his shell on, that's when he put his clothes on, because he was naked, because all fish are naked. Only the crustaceans put on clothes. Right? So your comic book is late. They hear about these stories, but they don't really know how to articulate them. So they tell you some garden about some girls and guys. But really they're telling you about the ocean and how man got kicked out of the ocean. So, in receiving a local, one begins to have the abundance of the depths of potential. No, you still got free will. You can do what you want. You can crash out. But I'm very sure that there's some kind of consequences, there's some penalties for that. Now, what they are, I couldn't fucking tell you, because I done died, but I ain't never died long enough to come back and tell you what the fuck was over there. Feel me? So on this channel, we will not be sitting here pontificating or theorizing on what it is to die and what are the rules on the other side. I don't know. They didn't get no rules when you came to this world. You ain't gonna get no rules going into the next one. You have to figure that shit out. Um, so I don't get into that. I don't get into all of the stuff that you cannot show and prove.
You Mr. Logical niggas is coming.
Yeah. So it's important that you ground yourself and stay grounded. Like for what? Some shit is like, well, why would I do that? Well, there is a gradual process. Now, God bless your Godfather. Because some Babalawos be trying to sell you some shit. They be like, oh no, come over here and get this the local one of the Babalao. Then you got this shit, you don't know what to do with it. And you ain't got no Ocha. So, God bless your Godfather, the fact that after giving you no ruler, he's telling you that you need to receive a local. The Babalao can't give it to you. Checks and balances. Remember that. And that is my beef with what all of the people call Isheshe. There ain't no checks and balances. It's just a bunch of people with a bunch of fucking titles who fucking couldn't blow themselves out of a wet paper bag. You know what I mean? And our circumstances in the diaspora do not allow us to have to waste time messing around with titles and regalia. This shit don't mean nothing. You know, on the battlefield, you can't salute the fucking general because then the enemy gonna know who to shoot. And so that's why it's like sometimes it's just unnecessary for us to have a quote unquote so-called black leader. Why would you do that to somebody? Put them in the crosshairs of your enemy. It would be in your best interest to keep your king quiet. That you don't even know what he looked like. Because it's more about the message than it is about the man. Who is called to receive Astral data. That is so from the Isheshe perspective, that's a road of Eshu that they give us Odada. In LUCUMI, all the Legbas are Odada. Odada means he's good in the world, right? And so, Eshu Odada, I can't really speak on it. That's an Isheshe concept. It is a praise name for a Legba in LUCUMI. Eshu Odada, Odada my besu my boni yare. Right? They don't. It's not Odada. Oda means good. Ara, on the earth, on the land. He's good in the world. Um, I don't know that to be a specific path of Legba or Eshu. I know Eshu B, Alaketu, Alailu, Alagbana, Alaroye, Anyaki, Okuboro, Eshumina. These are different Eshus that have different names, and the names denote what they actually do. Eshu Odada, I've heard the Isheshe give out Odada, and Odada is, like I said, for us, it is a euphemism used for all Legbas, right? Barasuayo, Moyana Wana Mama Kenirawo, O Barasuayo, Eke, Eshu Odada, O Moyana Wana Mama Kenirawo, right? They talk about him being born from a star, him being some sort of meteorite, right? This is why he's associated to laterite. so that there's a pattern of Eshu in Yoruba land called Eshu Yangi. How does moving affect your bova? It requires you to necessarily erect it again and to sanctify the area that you are now going to set the bovada up in, so that you are essentially telling your spirits this is your new dwelling and this is where you are asking them to gather so that you can find them. Because the bovada is, remember the word means vault. So it's where you keep your precious things. And there's nothing more precious than one's spiritual court. Right? This is why the Nganga, sometimes they call it the prenda, the jewel. Right? Because it is your foundation, it's your bank account. This is where you get your, you know what I'm saying? Or your blessing comes from. Yeah, they be making up stuff in South Carolina. And I'm not here to attack because I get a bad rap. They don't like me anyway. I'm supposed to be putting out all kinds of juju. Is Jakuta and Shango the same? No. In the 401 Orishas gathered in Ile Ife, Jakuta is a separate Orisha than Shango. Yeah, but you got to remember, I want you to understand that reading it is not enough. That you have to be told these stories. This is an oral tradition. The secret is in the word. They're talking about the people down in Sheldon, South Carolina. They, God bless them. You know what I mean? Real talk. I don't agree with their ways. Certainly. There is an array. There is a special blessing that we have called Dedewanti or Locum, where one gets their blessings from the profoundness of the ocean. And so those people are advised to try to live as close to the ocean as possible, as they can possible. Right? Yeah, that place. I mean, I got my critiques, but everybody got an opinion, and like assholes, and most of them stink. So I just, I don't engage. I don't particularly adhere to their philosophy, and so I could be critical, but then this is how we end up with sects and different kinds of church, right? Because those people. So when you don't follow what they call the fundamentals, or the orthodoxy of things, and you decide to change things based on your convenience, because that's all that it is. When you talk about Christianity, you get all these different sects because somebody want to do what they want to do, right? So they be like, oh, well, remember King James created the new Bible because he wanted to get divorced, and that shit wasn't in the motherfucking in the plan, and so he had to come up with some new shit. And so this is how you get to having people having new versions of something. And I don't know how they legitimately look themselves in the mirror with that type of madness, but whatever. I'm not adhering to those edicts, and so I don't bother with them. And so, unfortunately, they're not allowed in my Igbo do. You know, I want you to understand that the mothers of the night, this conversation that everybody has on the internet is something that this never was. Um, I don't even like to talk about it. I'm not a part of that. And so I don't engage in what they be doing over there. Um, so you hear all of this stuff, right? And they they talk about this as this they, you know, oh, and I'm because I'm a mother. I don't get into that. Um, I can tell you 20 years ago, my elders wouldn't even utter their name. Like, I remember coming from the Bible Hour and having to make a bow to them and asking my elders, my family members, like, yo, and they was like, yo, don't say that name. And don't tell me what the fuck you gotta do. And I was like, word? They was like, yeah, that's your business. And I was like, oh, okay. And I and my aunt was like, yeah, don't be asking about that because that's a sorority that you'll never get to be in, and so it's none of your business. And so I took that as you said it, like it ain't none of my business. So today, when I see people talking about this phenomena and they're writing books about it, I don't understand because it is something that is shouldn't even be uttered. You know, when you get into true Yoruba cosmology, there's certain deities and uh, entities that you don't even say their name because it is to call that energy, and if you don't know how to tame that lion, don't fuck with it. And unfortunately, this era of human beings have no respect. You watch a lot of horror movies and you think that there's a resolve in all of that shit, and it's not all the time. Some people end up with a bad spirit, and that's that, and they ain't getting rid of that shit, and they're gonna be fucked up forever. And so, like my uncle said, you can't unring a bell. The conversation of the mothers is of no of no business of mine. I don't bleed. I don't make babies, and milk don't come out my breast. So I ain't got no reason to even talk about the mothers. And so any man that is very descriptive in all of this and telling you what you can and can't do, I find that to be a farce because you don't know what the fuck to do with those women. And so I decline even talking about them. Obakaye temple is in Vegas. So you gotta understand, I am not familiar with these temples. These did not exist 20 years ago. All of this is new to me. A lot of these people are not really what they say they are. You know, this tradition has only been in this country for 60 years. I want you to understand that the eldest American priests, dead or alive, only go back to 1959. So when all these temples pop up and all that, I ask myself, who are the elders here? Well, how much time have you had in this tradition? Because obviously you are a convert because you weren't born into this. So how do you now necessarily regulate yourself to be the bye-bye and the EI and all that fun fly shit? I don't know. So when these places, because there was a time that this Ocha thing outside of the LUCUMI didn't even really exist outside of New York. You know, you had New York, Boston, a little bit of Philadelphia, Miami, Central Florida, California. All this shit that's going on in Texas, I have no idea. And I'm gonna tell you something. Don't be fooled by some of these dudes that's coming from Cuba. They don't know what they talking about. Just because they Cuban does not make them experts on their religion. They might be experts on folklore, on the dance and singing the songs, but they don't know the tradition. They don't know the edicts of the tradition because there are a lot of things that I have seen on the internet that are blasphemy. And one of them that I'm gonna talk about tonight is now I can't talk about possession because if you don't get possession, ain't your business. Straight like that. So when it comes to Egun, I have seen on the internet, on TikTok and YouTube, people playing conga drums, singing Oro Egun. That is something that is brand new. That was never done 20 years ago. The only time that you play the Egun is if you're playing what we call fundamental añá, or you're playing boxes, what they call cajon. There's an Odu, Odigbe, that refers to the goat breaking the drum and paying for it with his own skin. If at any point you're playing drums and the drum breaks while you are addressing the dead, somebody is going to die. And so for that reason, they made the concession to use wood because it does not break like the skin, right? And the Anya has the medicine in the Osun because it is associated to Egun, to Oro, right? And this is what allows us to sing to the dead without, again, the side effects, the hazards that come with that, right? So I see them and they're singing Oro and they playing the bell. First of all, the bell already in its inclination is not going to work because it chases the Egun away. So if you're playing a Wataka and you're ting, 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 ting to Egun, already Egun is not coming because they don't like the sound of that. This is why they have bells around the Anya, and when they play to the dead, they remove the bells so that it doesn't chase the dead away. So playing anything instrument that makes a ding, 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 or has a ding sound to it, the Egun don't like it, right? They don't know what they're doing. Because they have no reason to, because they don't understand Egun. Egun, in the context of Orisha tradition, has to only deal with those who have been crowned, Ocha, Lerikwakwa. That's it. If you never made Ocha, if you did not knock on the door and receive Ocha and get an Ocha name, you cannot be venerated at Oro Egun. And this is why in the LUCUMI system, there is a pedestismo to honor those ancestors that have nothing to do with the tradition, because the dead can stop you from talking to the gods. Period. Nothing else to say. I could talk to Obatala and Egun can stop my conversation and be like, you can't talk to him right now, you gotta talk to us. But I can never be talking to Egun and Obatala stop the conversation. Don't work like that. Okay? And so those people are ignorant, arrogant, and irresponsible because they don't want to accept the fact that this is not their tradition. You are taking on something, that you are building tradition for your children. And so you don't get to come in and change things because you don't know what the songs mean that you want to put in, when the saints go marching in, that's fine, but that don't belong there. That is for the Misa, the Mesa Blanca. That's not for Oro Egun. Oro Egun is only for those who have had Ocha, right? And had Ita with Oruko Ocha. If you don't have that, then you cannot be venerated at La Umba Waori, right? Because the song says, Awao Osun, those who had Ocha painted on their head, Awao Ma, those who were highly intelligent and ran the locale are to be honored. Not just any old Johnny come lately. Because making Ocha, albeit if it was paid for you or by way of you struggling to make the Ocha, is a part of the the hazing process of you getting to get to this knowledge and having access to it. It doesn't mean that you're plugged in. It just means that you have now a library card to go and see the books. Okay? And so it's interesting how people, like I said, they will incorporate their own things because they don't understand. And so as opposed to taking the time to really dedicate themselves and say, you know what? See, because a lot of people will go to Nigeria and they get initiated and then they never go back. Or they show up years later. And then what did you learn? Now, in my instance, I made Ocha in Cuba, yes. But everybody in my family already had Ocha. So it wasn't like I was going to get some shit that nobody knew what the hell I was going to do with it. I had references to come back and deal with it. So that when I was able to go back to Cuba, I was able to expound on my information and my knowledge and my understanding because I had a foundation. But if you just think that you're going to just read the book and all of a sudden you're going to become all seeing and all knowing, you ain't for a hell of a disappointment. A hell of a disappointment. Egun is foundation, I say. If you don't got no Egun, you don't have nothing. So you have to take your divination in Nigeria. Good luck. No, what up? Good luck. If you gotta go back to Nigeria, good luck. Now, my issues with Nigeria, there's a lot of them. Their country's a mess. When Donald Trump said it's a shit whole country, he wasn't bullshit. It's a shit whole country. I ain't never been there. I don't need to go there. I can see I watch the news from there. I got Sahara reports on my phone. I see what goes on over there. I don't necessarily look for them to do anything for me. Nah, see, you talking about how? Okay, that's not possible. You know, when they do that to you, they're jerking you off. So if you go somewhere and they're like, oh, and your family was from an Ogun nation, they are jerking you off. Okay? How the fuck do they know that? No, they don't know that. That's stop. Don't let them sell you no bull. Don't let them sell you no 649, as my elder used to say. That's bullshit. They can't tell you that. Right? In my family, I have 10 plus Agba. I got Jews, my mom, Mama Monique, young Frankie, Mama Joe. There are, as of right now, 18 Santeros in my family. Right? Ross, you keep asking me all these questions. You ain't never gonna come back. I'm gonna answer all your questions. You asked me, you went from Ocha, now you're asking me about Avaqua. Slow down, hold on. Now, if they told you, oh, your father's bloodline is this, that's bullshit. Because how do they factor in all of the other people that ain't come from Africa in your bloodline? You hear me? How do they, where do they factor that in? Tell me. See, because, so this is the interesting thing about this whole Kamala Harris thing. it's culturalizations. There are some people that are in our community that claim black, but if you was to cut them, their blood don't run like that. They may have come from places like Haiti and whatchamacallit, Jamaica and all these different places, but that don't mean that they had slave blood in them. I have a compadre whose mother peoples were from Lebanon and her daddy's peoples was from Ireland and France. Now, she looked like a light-skinned Jamaican woman, but in reality, in terms of ethnicity, she's really got some Middle Eastern shit going on, right? So sometimes motherfuckers can culturally attach themselves to a group of people based on the fact that they was in a mix, right? So you have to be, so now with that said, how does the Yoruba person tell you, oh, your people from the mother side are Obatala people? Get the fuck out of here. No, sir. No, sir. No, 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 no. That's like the past life conversation. Like, how do you confirm that? Oh, in my past life, I was a samurai. Okay. You don't speak no Japanese in your sleep. You don't make sushi in your sleep. What the fuck are we talking about? No, sir. You can't hit me with that shit, because how do I know that that's something? That's one of those things where you can't investigate that. So you telling me, oh, my mother's people were Egun people. Oh, okay. How do I how do I know whether or not you bullshitting me or not? Listen to me, y'all. The real shit will come when somebody says something that only you knew. So if I go to a Ibiza, right, I got braids in my hair, I got a polo shirt. Let's say the person don't know I got Ocha, right? They see me, they're gonna assume off the rip. And I've had this happen. Oh, you must be careful with your baby mothers. What baby mothers? Nigga, I ain't got no kids. The fuck is he talking about? Right? Oh, because I'm a light-skinned nigga with braids and I'm articulate. I must be promiscuous and I must got a bunch of kids around. So that's the message you're gonna come and tell me. Right? So now, let's say you don't hit me with that one. You hit me with in your past, you went to jail many times. Yeah, nigga, that shit is easy to see. Like, what are you talking about? You're not telling me anything. Now, if you say some shit to me like, yo, how many times you been married? You've been married two times, right? Yeah. There was a time when you was in a fire. My nigga, you couldn't know that. You couldn't know that. Wow. Yeah. There was. Yo, niggas was doing witchcraft to you, and that shit hit your house, and boom, bada bing, bing, bada boom. Now you got my ear. What else you gonna tell me? But if you try to tell me some bullshit, oh, you miss your mother now, and you were a very bad son and terrible. Nah, son, you got the wrong kid. Yeah, I was in the street, but my mama, she'd be like, yo, come home, them dishes better be washed. The dishes is washed, the garbage is taken out. In fact, I bought my mama every first car she ever had, I purchased it. Start again. You have to be critical with the people that bring you this information. It is not good enough that they just hit 1 out of 5. They got to get 4 out of 5 or nothing less. Don't hit me with no fake bullshit that you owe, because it's real. They write books on how to read people. I want you to understand that. You can get a book and it'll tell you the way the person crosses their hands, and it'll give you a whole lot of shit about a person. And the other part is, don't tell me my foot hurt, tell me how to fix it. So niggas will tell you all your problems, but you don't have a solution. Right? And everything don't require me killing a chicken. You heard? Everything don't require me killing a chicken. Some of it might just be a prayer, right? And some days you might not be able to reach that far. I got a phone call today about a godson of mine that's locked up, that got a bad deal today. And that shit is crushing me because I feel some type of way. I'm working this shit and I'm trying to, but I also have to have faith that maybe this is something that he got to go through this crazy shit so he can get out of it and really respect it, right? But I got a phone call today, a text, and they jam my godson up, right? And at the same time, he's a good young man. He just got some bad cars, and he didn't have anybody in his corner. And they jammed him up, and now I gotta go beast mode to get him out. I gotta fucking poke the angels and somebody in heaven to be like, yo, man, y'all gotta rewrite this, man. That shit can't. What are you doing, right? So I want to know when these other guys, when did they ever tell you about the bad side of this shit? This shit almost caught me just now, too.
What?
Shit just almost caught my motherfucking spirit. I felt myself coming out of my, you know what I mean? Looking at myself on the thing like that. So, when do they gotta talk about the hazards? You feel me? How do we get back to a glass of water and a candle? Misa. It's a part of the responsibility that one has to now take up. You have to take up the responsibility to organize it amongst the people around you. If you know a spiritualist, yo man, how much is going to cost me to get you to come sit down? And the reason why you're going to pay them is because that shit ain't easy. And nobody should be sitting around getting possessed and all that shit for nothing. And we promise you that. That shit ain't cool. Motherfuckers, the people that don't get possessed, well, there was a time when yeah, fuck you. You don't get that, do that shit, so fuck you. You ain't got shit to say about it. Feel me? Because you be done woke up and motherfucking got no shoes on, feet all dirty, niggas looking at you all crazy. Your shirt is all sweated out and all that shit. Motherfuckers ain't even got no food left for you. Nah. Understand? So, you find a spiritualist and you sit down and you put together the table and you sit down and you say some prayers first. It don't have to be somebody getting possessed or something. Just say some fucking prayers. Because when do you pray when it's not specific for you? See, niggas pray when they're in a jam. So tomorrow the rent is due, you nigga praying. Like, oh, please let me find this money for this rent, right? No. When do you pray when there's nothing hanging over your head? When do you pray for God? Does anybody ask if God is okay? Did God have a good week? And so, absolutely, devotion. What do you devote yourself to? And it don't have to be to Orisha. And that's what I be trying to explain to motherfuckers. It's not about that. But if you're going to sit here and argue and say which one is the first and all of that, the only thing that matters is that when your ancestors came over here, the niggas didn't come over here talking about no motherfucking real estate agents with no little funny hats. Okay, so here's the problem with your question. Here's the problem with not with your question, but that situation. The first question is why does one go to Nigeria? Why does one go to Nigeria? Because already you're going to Nigeria says that one suspects that whatever that LUCUMI shit is, it don't work. Right? That's one bullet point. So it don't work. 2, that shit is some Spanish shit. Okay. 3, I want to go to the source. Okay. All right? So why was one going to Nigeria in the first place? You don't speak Yoruba. You don't speak Yoruba. And you have to get a shot, a couple shots, before you can even get on a plane. Because you could tell me about all your melanin. Go over there and don't get that motherfucking malaria shot if you want to. Go ahead. I dare you. I fucking dare you. Because I know a couple people. I know a few people that went over there, made E5, came home and died. And I'm like, the E5 didn't say nothing. They didn't say, yo, listen, son, you need to get this medicine before you leave because you're going to be sick. Nothing. They didn't say anything. Oh, okay. Right. So the first question is, why is one going to Nigeria? Why is one going to Nigeria? I know why the people in the past did it. Why is somebody going and doing that shit now? Now, let's think about all of the years, right? Let's think about all of the years that those people kept these traditions and memorized these songs, and kept these prayers together. For you to say that they did all of that in vain, because I'm going to go to Nigeria and get the shit. I mean, and I'm not putting no sauce on it. This is just as raw as it could be. Why would I do that? Now, first of all, I don't believe in the Yanifa. It never existed. Yanifa never existed. Again, we could go back to the text. You could go back to the earliest text of anybody that has been studying the Yoruba, and you will not ever see Yanifa. Go back and find any Bascom book that you could find and tell me where they have that. Now, the people who now go to Nigeria and made LUCUMI and now go to Nigeria and get some stuff, they don't believe in their LUCUMI stuff. You can't serve two masters. Ha. So now somebody gonna say, well, how you do Pablo Mayombe and Ocha at the same time? Same way the Haitian does Petro and Rada at the same time. It's a part of their creolization. That my system, my gods, recognize my other blood gods. That my LUCUMI Orisha recognize Sarabanda. That recognize that he was here in my body before Chango. And so they give space for him to have his own way. The same way when you go into any voodoo house, if you go into a voodoo house, they're going to have Petro and then they're going to have Rada. And the Petro is the Congo stuff. And the Rada is the Dahomey. So they simultaneously are operating at the same time. So the same thing with the LUCUMI. To me, say one is LUCUMI does not refer to just having Ocha from Cuba. It refers to one being a spiritualist, a palero, a Orisha practitioner who visits the Babalawo. So that you understand that Ifa is a compartment, not the seal. It is not the crescendo of the tradition. So all those guys that ran to Ifa and didn't, so like I know some people that got 40 something years of Ocha, 25 years Ifa. Yeah, it's just a part of the ability to placate Karen. Right? When you hear about when Iyan Ifa was first propagated, it was propagated under the auspices of Susan Wegner. Right? And so, and again, sexism, feminism, misogyny, none of these things have room or space in Ocha. They don't exist. Right? So the women will say, oh, well, why can't the women do it? Because there's certain things that are just not for women to do. They're just not healthy. Right? So one of those things is playing drums. So there's a perk. Yeah, you get a basket of money, you get to sing to the Orishas, but the side effect of that is your kidneys are going to go. Every great drummer I ever seen, they's playing every week. Them kidneys get to going. Because there's a price for everything. Now somebody say, well, why don't you get the herbs and drink the herb and then heal yourself at the same time? Because sometimes you got to necessarily die for the things that you love and that you believe in. So, understanding that the kidneys begin to fail, why would a woman do that? She's meant to carry children. Already her kidneys are at stake. So why would she want to play the drum? That's ridiculous. Don't make no sense. Why would she participate in sacrificing the animals? She gives birth. You're gonna have a monopoly on the whole life. You're gonna give birth and death. I'll say that it depends on the person's skills, but here's the thing. And it's like every sword and everything is two-sided. I understand that they over there starving. I'm not mad. If they figure out a way to hit you on the phone and they're gonna do the divination, God bless them. All right, cool. Now, do I believe in that? No, because the problem is they don't know what the fuck they talking about. Them niggas that have been on that continent, they ain't never left that shit. They don't know what the fuck the world is like. They have no idea about a metro card. They don't know none of that shit. And they damn sure don't know what a nigga's going through over here. So they don't understand that, yeah, they giving you all these abodes, but you live in a house with a crackhead. And that might be your mother. And she might be clean for now, but every once in a while she go on a binge. And maybe one of these weeks she might take that money that's inside your ruler and take it and go get high. They ain't got no elbow for that. Because that's not been their reality. They don't even know what to do with that. They have no context for that. I'm saying if the person reading you was a worldly Nigerian nigga. So let's just say the nigga that's reading you on the phone, he's in Nigeria, but he been to the States before. He been to Canada. He been to Mexico before. He been to London, right? He done got beat up by the cops for just being black. His conversation is now different because now he can relate to you. But if it's some nigga that been in some fucking compound, all he been doing is talking Yoruba, old dude, he don't know what the fuck he talking about. Because he ain't never lived no life. This nigga done been in the fucking compound before. So he can't figure out how this is going to happen to you. So he going to give you a poem about some fucking turtle and why the turtle and the motherfucking and the bed bug don't get along. What? That shit ain't going to have no relevance to you. Can you dig it? See, my thing is, if you want Nigerian Ocha, sure, go over there and get it. But why you leaving? Stay there. How you gonna go to Shaolin and get initiated and then not stick around and learn the motherfucking 36 chambers? How did you do that? See, there was a time that going to Cuba was for those who did not have all of the fucking bells and whistles to do it in the States, right? So a nigga been struggling for 6 years, he trying to make Ocha, and he can't get it together, right? And he can't get it together, so somebody's like, yo, listen, I'll make it Ocha. We're just gonna go to Cuba real quick. You got a couple, how much you got? Got $3,000-4,000? All right, we're gonna go over here and I'm gonna do this Ocha for you. Now, when the person comes back, they have a community that works the same way that he was initiated over in Cuba. They ain't did nothing different. There's a couple little variations here and there from different towns and all that shit and different lines of Ocha. That's fine. You tell me where you come from and I can understand whatever nuances you got, right? But if, you know, oh, let me see what y'all saying. Yeah, so what happens is the person that comes back from making Ocha in Cuba, as in Cuba being a place where, all right, we're going to go over there in desperation because we're going to hook the people up and let them make a couple dollars and you're going to get the ceremony. When you come back, you're able to function because it's the same system. So I'm going to tell y'all, so I'm going to say something, and it's not going to rub people the right way, but it's just the truth. So this is what happened. In the early days, Black Americans had to get Ocha from the Cubans. They didn't like it. They don't speak no Spanish. They don't know what they're talking about. And they don't like the aesthetics. They don't like the Guayavera and the Kango hat. They want to wear sheets and dashikis and wear dreads. And the Cubans like, nah, that ain't it. So these people decide to start to circumvent the Cubans. And they're going to go to Nigeria. Go to Nigeria and they gonna go get the stuff. But when they come back, the LUCUMI like, nah, you can't come in here. And they're like, why? I got Yemon job. And it's like, that's cool, but not here. And so it's the same way if you were in a lodge and you was in a lodge and you was in Scottish Rites and some dude from Prince Hall came and was like, yo, I'm gonna be running y'all temple now. You would be like, get the fuck out of here. Right? Okay, so the Akan does not have the same, the difference in that is that the Akan does not have a diasporic version of it. There's no diasporic version of Akan. Everybody that does Akan has to go to Ghana and go study. But what most of those people find it is very hard for them to function, because that requires a devotion that is constant. Again, the LUCUMI system was made so that you could go to work every day, right? It was made so that you didn't have to have it in the streets, right? Yeah, they have a kind of stuff in Suriname, but that is a part of their culture, and it's not a diasporic tradition that has a regular. So what I want you to understand, that the difference in LUCUMI is that LUCUMI has what's called a regular. It has a rule of thumb. And it has divination. So the difference between Haiti and Cuba is that Haiti does not have divination. They don't have a divination system. Now, today they might have one, but originally their Orthodox thing is all based off of mediumship. Now, when it comes to Suriname and the Winti and the people that speak Taki, those people have a culmination of Edo, Akan, and Congo philosophy, all bunched into one, which creates the original Palenques, right? That when they talk about the Quilombos of Brazil, they most likely existed in the places that would be present-day Suriname, because there were no lines written in the continent at that time, right? Congo and Fong, yeah. So, now, and you're talking to somebody that my grandfather is from Paramaribo, okay? So, I'm not just talking some shit. So understand that their tradition is not codified. So from village to village, they have a different system and different rules. When you go to the island of Cuba, there is a regla that was started within Havana that made a rule. And then that rule, they went to Matanza and created another rule, right? And so the rule keeps it the same way, that no matter where you go, so that there's not really a rule in Candomblé, because from Tejeda to Tejeda, they have different customs, right? There's no continuity in there in what they're doing. From some Tejedas, they don't even worship certain Orisha, right? So what I'm saying is that the LUCUMI has a diet, a call and response, a folklore, an aesthetic, pharmacology, language. So it is one of the only functioning cultures in the world. Don't nobody speak Latin. There ain't nobody speaking Roman. And if they do, they don't eat Roman. Right? The same thing with those who practice Judaism. They don't eat or sing the same shit that Abraham, Levi, or any of them other prophets was singing or eating. But if I go to Brazil right now and they have festival for Shango, I'm pretty sure they got some corn millings and fucking okra. I'm pretty sure. So that means that it goes all the way into diet. That certain foods will be associated with certain orishas that carry on. So with that being said, the Akan tradition, no offense to them, they just don't have a diasporic equivalent. So the people who practice that practice the orthodoxy of it. They don't practice something that has been changed to fit their circumstances. That's just what it is. So again, when one necessarily goes to Nigeria and you come back and you want to do, so the problem is that I have is that the Isheshe doesn't have call and response songs that they can all recognize. It does not have the call and response. So that the songs you hear that come out of the LUCUMI, none of that shit is Spanish. So you have to respect the fact that this is the language and the stories and folklore within the rhythms and the cadences and the songs that are applied to it. No other tradition has that. So much so that I'm like, in retrospect, I go to the powwow and I don't know what the fuck they playing. Because I don't know how they all playing the same shit when they're not all the same nation or tribe. And so you won't be able to tell the distinction. When you go to the powwow, you won't be able to distinct whether or not the Lakota is playing or the Blackfoot. Well, what happens is the people don't like the spiritismo because, again, most black people aesthetically are caught in a web. So if it don't have red, black, and green and dreadlocks on it, they can't. It's Christian. They don't want to bother with it. It's the white man. And when you limit yourself to that, you'll never be able to see God. How can you see God in a stone if you can't see God in a different color? I never said there was a problem with Jesus. I just said the representation of Jesus is the problem. You could give me Jesus, but give me Jesus with the goblet in his hand and the sword and the crown and the robes. Don't give me Jesus nailed to a cross, because that guy's fucked up. And he can't help me because he can't help himself. He can't help himself. He can't scratch his nose. So why am I asking him for help? So it's not about what they give you. It's about how they present it and package it to you. Yeah. And so let's cultivate the Egun. Let's give them voice. Why is it that they don't talk? Is there something that was done to them? Did they cut their tongues out? No, see, so you can't let your policy come before your the way you see God, right? So it got to be your spirituality first before your policy and your politics. You have to be able to switch into the mode of human being. Human being. Am I hateful and am I apathetic that I will step on my enemy's babies? Or am I honorable and I give them a chance to grow, and if they need to revenge themselves, then they do so? Because I can't not put myself in the same position that I have put others in. Feel me? So when motherfuckers be like RBG, right, and all of that first, nah, son, I learned some Ocha from some white men. I learned some very crucial Ocha concepts from a gay white Cuban man. God bless his soul. Right? That when you went to his house, he had pictures of African kings on his wall. He used to have the Budweiser posters framed in his house. He tell you, no, this is from Africa. So, understanding that I'm able to see Obatala in a white man, the same way I'm able to see him in a stone. So that you see people arguing about whether or not Osun is a mulatto, or is she black, and is her nose wide. I don't know that because my Osun is a stone. And if you could be humble enough to worship a stone, because you know niggas be thinking they God, be like, I'm God, God is in with you. But no, God is not within you, you're within God. God is omnipotent. God is the fucking fish tank. You are the fish. Without the fish tank, the fish don't exist. Take them out of the fish tank and they will die. So you can't be out of God. You can't be out of God to observe God. So when you get that out your mind, then you understand that you can find God in concentrations in certain places. And for us, we find them in the stones. So that there's a room in my house where stones occupy it. That is their, what do you call that? That is their pizza party from the elective of life, that they came back to be stones and they ain't got to do nothing. They ain't got to wake up in the morning. They ain't got to go and get in traffic. Every once in a while, I take them out and I feed them and I put fruit and I pray to them and I worship them. And one day, I hope to be one of those stones. And so I never had who? Nah, she's supposed to, so she's an idiot. For even, so there's no, again, there's no arguing with them. How am I going to argue with a group of men when you don't sing no songs that Moses and them sang? How about that? I seen, so in the late 90s, the Hebrew Israelites used to be on the train playing conga drums. Used to be 3 or 4 of them. They used to have these little groups. They would get on the train and they would be playing do 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 do. And I'd be laughing at them because I'm like, how that's your culture? Show me the Jewish drum. Show me the Jewish drum. I'll wait. And then play it and sing some songs for me on it. This is what I told them about the Kemetic stuff years ago when I did Congo before Kemet. Tell me, sing some Kemetic songs. If Jabari could sing some Kemetic songs, I'll be convinced that he's a Kemetic priest. But he can't. Yes, the Congo drums. And these were the Hebrew Israelites. I don't know which faction, which house or whatever. I think it was the ones they used to have a little thing on Saratoga Avenue. But they used to get on the train with 3 conga drums. There'd be 3 of them, and they'd be playing the conga drums. And I was like, what class did they learn this at? And I was like, this is hilarious, because they don't know. And so one day, the dude was like, yo, you're not going to put no money in the hat. And I was like, nigga, you don't even know what to sing with that shit. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, you don't have a song to sing to that shit. You just playing the drum. Do, 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 do. Well, you don't know what the fuck to sing, right? So you're playing a Congo drum, but you're telling me that you Hebrew Israelite. Whatever. Forget speak the metal netta, sing that shit. Sing it. I could grab any one of my family members and take them to any place where there's some Ocha. And I'm talking about the ones that not even really interested. And the niggas start get to singing them songs and my cousins and them gonna respond. So like I said, Jabari and them can't sing no Kemetic songs. They ain't got no some Kemetic drum rhythms. Ain't got no Kemetic dances. And so this is why I'm not on Black Magic 363. This is what I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that this is why I'm not on Black Magic 363. Because I say shit like this. So I'm about to get out of here because it's been about an hour and 25 minutes we've been on here. You know what I mean?
I'll be back.
We'll be back every Friday. This is, you know what I mean? Bochinche Ocha. We're gonna do the Ocha. This the Ocha news. You know what I mean? You bring them up. You bring it up. We'll knock them down. Feel me? Nah, this the channel right here. We doing. We're gonna do Omidina production. We doing Bochinche Ocha Bochinche, the Ocha news. Right? We're gonna talk about the things that's out there. Y'all bring it to the forefront. I'm gonna speak on it. You know? Because if I get on the IG and get to talking, they're just gonna shadow ban me. You said need a link to get a reading. Now you better hit Omidina Productions at gmail.com. My wife will get right to that. Yeah, I was on the Instagram and they started cutting my lines in the middle of stuff and all kinds of stuff. You know, and you know I don't do this for the. This is for you to have a clear vision. So it's like a glass. It's like a window. Imagine this. It's a window. And some people could see out a little bit of the window. The rest of it is painted up or it's all dirty. So you can see a little bit. And you only see what you can see ahead. You don't see what's on this side or this side. You don't see what's above it, nothing. As this thing opens up more and more, we open up more and more panels. We get to see more and more of the picture. Feel me? So that's what we here for. Oh, definitely, because you know, Umar's now the expert on African spirituality. He was a Muslim when he came into this, but whatever. You know what I mean? Pharaoh was talking about mediumship and spiritual guides, and I was like, okay. You know what I mean? So I stick to my qualifications. I am qualified to talk about this. I got Ocha now for I'll be 19 this year. Right? That ain't got nothing to do with how many years I've been in the culture. I've been in the culture every day that I've had breath in my lungs. And so I ain't gonna sit and cap with you and be like, I got 47 years. No. I got 19. I'll be 19 next month. Years at Chongo. Right? And I don't remember how many years with the Ganga, but it's more than the Ocha, so figure that one out. And I got Ochas in here that older than me. Shit that I've inherited that's older than me. So we're not gonna argue with them about that. The qualifications are here. Omidina Productions, I know what it is. We're not doing the Instagram no more because we banned. And I'm not in the business of, you know, feeding their algorithm. So every Friday on a late night, y'all check in. We'll be up chewing the fat. Y'all have a good one.